Welcome to another segment of provocative conversations destined to provoke further thought and spark greater questions regarding God, church, and the religious establishments of both the past and the present. I am the proud heretic, Mr. Provocateur himself. Hello, I am the proud heretic, Mr. Provocateur himself, better known through social media, through my podcasting sites as the ordained heretic. Yes, I am a heretic because I go against the established norms of the systems of this church, the very system that God is dismantling, the very system that has now gone off the scene. And today, I am coming with a post message in relation to the prophetic utterances of this pandemic season, in relation to the United States president, the United States outgoing president, and his politicians and the politicians of this united, divided states of stolen America. This is my post-election message to the world. As we know, God has spoken. You like that, don't you? Well, let me do it again. God has lifted us out of this spooky realm that we were all in, this realm that was ushered in and conjured up by the church. But now that God has spoken, I can come behind God now and speak what he has already spoken. I learned the VA, the Veterans Administration. I wanted to deal with some things that the VA, the government, the military owed me as far as injuries for me and many other people. Very ungrateful people, too. People who were so ungrateful until this very day, they've never come back and said, I want to thank you for getting me my 100%. I want to thank you for making it possible for my children to go to college. I want to thank you for the knowledge that you gave me. But you better believe they went and ran to their preacher and gave him everything they had. Some of them, even their drawers, or should I say what was in their drawers. But anyway, we talking to the president and the politicians right now, even though I might have to hit over there on that church side a little bit, because you can't separate church and politics, because church founded politics. So God told me, and I believe what God told me. Because when God when he speaks, I do my darnest to try and hear him correctly. And in this period and in this season, God has spoken. Oh man, I can't. I want to say, well, let me say it, but it really goes over there to the church. And may I remember to mention it when I deal with the church regarding this post-election as well. I I am putting up the messages with the church. I am editing my messages. I never put my messages out there until I edit those messages. So I say what I mean, and I mean only what I say, which is why I go and edit everything that I say to make sure I said what I meant and that I mean what I say. But it has to be in accordance with truth, or in accordance with where I am in relation to truth at the moment that I record. Sometimes I misstep, I mistake, I go above or beyond, or I don't hit the mark at all. I come short. In that, I try to catch those in my editing, but I am editing those to the church. You'll want to hear those. Hello, church. Now sit down. Let me talk to the president and the politicians, because again, God has spoken. Okay. Like I was saying with the VA, when I was learning all of their rules and regulations and guidelines in the early 2000s, and I sat and I read, oh man, so many months and months and months and months of learning to try and understand their rules, their regulations, their guidelines as it relates to filing a claim. Well, as I read, there are like 3 or 4 specific criteria that you must meet in order to bring that case even onto the desk of a raider. There are like 3 or 4 things that you must have from the beginning, or your claim is already denied from the chute. Well, in one of those requirements, one of those general requirements, not even mentioning the specific requirements, just like the 3 or 4 general criteria to get into the door, to get it onto someone's desk, is if you are not a licensed physician and your license is proven in your claim, you cannot, as a layperson, speak forth what you don't have the credentials to speak forth. So if you say, my knee is blown out and I have a torn meniscus, they will in return say, the veteran, the claimant, as far as we are aware, does not have the credentials to make such a licensed statement. In other words, you ain't a doctor. You don't get to tell us what you have. And even if you do tell us, we don't have the privilege, or we don't give you the privilege of respecting what you said. You are not licensed. You can't say that. But now here's the key. You can tell them that my knee hurts and it feels like something is torn inside. That's general. But you can't say it's my meniscus, or it's this, or it's that, because you're not a licensed physician to make such a statement, such a claim. However, if you have a doctor who states it for you, and you send that in with your claim, that doctor's statement that you do have a torn meniscus, now you as the claimant, you as the veteran, you can now argue as much as you want now, as long as you argue within the footsteps of that licensed physician. So now that you have the letter from the licensed physician and you sent that in with your claim, you can write your statement of claim in total relation to what the doctor has spoken. You can say, and my meniscus hurts this bad. My meniscus was torn this way and that way. And you can talk all about your meniscus now. Why? Because you're in the footsteps of a licensed physician. Well, since God has spoken, I can now speak post-election. Hello, Mr. Trump. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Politicians. Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, President Trump, soon to be gone Donald Trump. Sir, from the night that you came into office, I told my children, I told my house, those who had not already entered into the military, I still had 1, 2, 3, 4 of them here. Plus, at that time, my spouse, all of them were here. And I told them, I said, don't look at this as being strange, because I know times biblically where God chose a Pharaoh, a Nebuchadnezzar, an Assyria, a Babylon, a Persia, or the Medi-Persians. But I also know that he chose a Saul before he ever brought forth a David. I had been telling you all, and Donald Trump, I had been telling you, and understand this again, folk, I am neither Democrat nor Republican. I'm for right. I'm for justice. I'm for righteousness. I'm for proper judgment. I'm for character. I'm for integrity. I'm for honesty. All that the church has proven they are not for. And you, Mr. Donald Trump. So, Mr. Trump, I told my family, I said, no matter what happens in this election, because I saw what route God was going as it began to play out. It didn't even matter to me at that time. The only thing that mattered to me is as to why God was going this route. Because I knew you were chosen. Because, see, I believe in the sovereignty of God, and you couldn't have gotten your wretched, lying, deceiving, conniving, butt-licking self, butt-licking to the church. I knew that you could not get there, sir. You say, well, how do you say sir after saying butt-licking? Easy. Butt-licking, sir. Butt-licking to the church, sir. Licky, licky. See, now people think that the church is licking up to you. No, the church is not licking up to you. The church is the king of all entities. The church is the king of all systems, says God, which means that the church is not licking up to any system, but rather the systems are licking up to the church. Because the systems flow through the church. You know that, Donald. You know that. Cut it out. You know it. That's why you continue to give them everything they wanted. And you felt kind of like it was even Steven because, you know, you got your little votes or whatever. But anyway, let's talk, sir. I told you it's going to be hard for me to separate the church from you, sir. You from the church, sir. Because every time you talk, I smell the bootylicious of the church. Hallelujah. And every time the church talks, I smell the Trumpism of you. Hallelujah. 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 All of you smell like, I guess, wretched spiritual Similac. Similar. But anyway, here we go. Mr. Trump, I told my family, God uses whoever he uses, how he uses them. And just like God used Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon to chastise and bring a type of judgment, at least the Bible says it, okay? Bring a type judgment upon his people to wake them up. I could see him using you for that. And I defended you in that, even when family members were saying, how can you say God used him? How can you say this? How can you say, how? The same way he uses the garbage man, the same way he used the mailman, the same way he uses your dog to protect your butt, even when you don't feed your dog. And even though he is nothing but a dog, God uses who God uses. He uses donkeys, Balaam and Balak. He uses sticks, staffs, Moses and Pharaoh. Oh, he uses Saul and David. He uses Shimei or Shemaiah, the cursing cousin of Saul, cursing David out as David walked along the way. Even David said himself, hey, leave that guy alone. Perhaps it was God who sent him here to do this to me, to bless me. Let him go. Let him do what he does. Then you go over into the New Testament. How you gonna use tricking, lying, denying Peter as your disciple, Jesus, knowing he was going to 3 times deny you? How you gonna pick Judas, the man who had a problem with the hands, the man who was greedy for filthy lucre? How you gonna pick the so-called devil? Because of your sovereignty. That's how, and that's why. So Donald Trump, I knew that you were just a vessel for the hour. That's all you were, a vessel for the hour. What happened is that you start smelling your own sheets. You started smelling your own sheets. Oh, you ever just want to use one of those words? Because I think they're healthy at times. I think they're appropriate. Oh, one of them words is right there, Don. Oh, I got to separate you, Donald, from Don, because Don is your son, but, you know, I knew God was using you, Mr. Trump, but you started smelling your own shatoa. You started smelling your own toe up. And that's where you went wrong. Maybe that's where you went right. Because maybe it's apparent that you were supposed to do all that you did to get us all to where we are. See, I understand how God uses things and people. I understand that much about God. So it didn't disturb me as the church was saying, you are there, you are there, you are there, you are there, you are God's church. It didn't bother me, sir. What bothered me is that they confused you with King Cyrus when actually you were nothing but a King Nebuchadnezzar. Any of you who have listened to me, you have heard me say it. Any of you who are listening who have heard me speak, I have equated Donald Trump to King Nebuchadnezzar. Donnie, I told you to talk to the church and ask Paula White, old snaky Paula White. I told you, sir, to ask her to explain to you who Nebuchadnezzar was. I even stated that you would even enjoy Nebuchadnezzar because he was like a ewer, and I figured you would like a himmer. I told you to do that. Now, if you didn't do that, sir, that's on you. Now, if I were you, I would go to Paul and say, Paul, you're fired. Donald, I'll tell you what God said to me about the church, because Paula represents the church. You know that too, Donnie. God told me about the church, I could say that. God told me about the church. He told me about you, but he told me what you're going to do with the church. God said to me that Donald Trump will turn against the church. Donnie, I'm waiting to see that because I know that's coming. Because God said it, sir. And he said it in the midst of all that he told me, so I know it's coming. I'm waiting on you to do that, sir. I'm waiting on you to do it. God says you're going to expose the church. Your exposure is going to bring the church its exposure. But anyway, we should be, consoling you right now. And I'm going to console you with rebukes and chastisement. That's how I'm going to console you. See, there's a time and season, sir, for everything. And this ain't a time or a season to be pampering you and putting fresh pacifiers in your mouth. You wasn't trying to pacify nobody, not even this virus, sir. People's mamas and daddies and sisters and brothers and children and neighbors and cousins and bosses and doctors and lawyers and whoever else, they were dying. And you sat your wretched, crooked, non-caring, heartless, I'm going to say it, ass up there, smelling your own ass while all of these people were dying. And you had no problem with it. Shame on your not butt ass. Shame on your ass, sir. All of these dead bodies all around, and you had no problem in doing what you were doing. And your people had no problem in doing what they were doing in the supporting of what you were doing, or should I say in what you were not doing. In fact, the church itself, the very ones you're licking up to, they had no problem at all in all of these souls dying and leaving this world. And now today is Sunday, November the 8th. I'm in the AM. All of these dead bodies. Yesterday, over 100,000 new cases in this divided, stolen states of America. The day before yesterday, over 125,000 new cases here in the United States alone. The day before that, 100,000. The day before that, 100,000 or 90-something thousand. And it just keeps going up every day. That's not including the people who are not out there protesting. That's not even including the people who can't get somewhere in test. That's not even including the people who are under your sway and the sway of the church, who don't even believe that there's a virus out here and they're not even going to get checked. That's not including the ones who do believe there's a virus out here and who are coughing and showing symptoms and having pains, but they're too scared to go to the doctor and find out. That's not even including the numbers of people who are dying that you all aren't even claiming, because you have your governors throughout this divided, stolen states of America hiding the true numbers. See, God told me months ago, don't believe the illusion. He said, it's all an illusion. He says, whatever you see, it's the opposite of that, most likely. He didn't say it in those terms, but that's what it equated to. See, you all have sold all of these lies to these people, and these people are dying and falling dead. Now, as to whether sovereignty is at work in that, I do believe that. But that does not make what you do right. Joseph's brothers were supposed to sell him into Egypt, but that didn't make what they did right, though it was right. Their motives and their intentions were not right. Saul was supposed to do what he did, but that didn't make him right, though it was right, though his motives and intentions weren't. David took a woman's husband, had him killed, slept with the woman of the man that he had killed, and had a child called Solomon. Now, wait a minute. Now, I want to make sure I'm correct, because David had so many women, almost like you, Trump. He had so many women, but I believe, yes, Solomon was from Bathsheba. David and Bathsheba. He took the man's wife and had a baby from her. God took a Bathsheba type adulterous, murderous situation and brought forth a Solomon, who is supposedly the one who wrote Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and Songs of Solomon. So think about that. Or maybe not wrote it, but he spoke it and someone else wrote it. However that goes, don't none of us know. But anyway, God will use a Judas. Was Judas wrong for what he did with Jesus? Not necessarily. No. Why? Because it was ordained for him to do it. And cut all that stuff out. Talking myself, well, see, God knew he was going to do it. So God said, okay, well, since I know he's going to do it and I can't stop him from doing it, I got to let him do it. I'm God, but I can't stop him from doing it. So I can't stop him from doing it. So I just go ahead on and let him do it. And what I do is we'll make a second plan. And what we'll do is we'll draw that plan up to make it where it'll kind of work together later on. Cause I fit it into, I could fit it cause it didn't happen yet. So I could kind of play with history and fit it before it. Get out of here. Get the hell out of here. Get that hell out of here. That is not how God works. Come on now. Even Jesus supposedly made the statement saying no man builds a house except he first sits down and draws up a blueprint and determine how much it's going to cost and whatever. God is about drawing up the blueprint of our lives individually and corporately. He's not about sitting and waiting on us to draw up our lives and you build your own future. You hold your own future in your hand. Okay, Donald Trump, would you show the world that that's not true? Isn't this proof that that's not true, what just happened to you? Did you not draw up your own blueprint and it did not pan out? Did your crooked, icky, wicky, licky to you politicians, didn't they find out as well their blueprints toward what was going to come forth in 2020 and 21 and 22 and 23 and 24 did not occur? Don't they prove my point? Did not the church promise you, sir, through all of these supposed revelations and all, that you were going to, and you all had your blueprint, and then you all called it God's blueprint? Well, what happened to God's blueprint when the Bible says, I change not? He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And don't go trying to tell me all that churchy, urchy, spooky, ooky crap talking about, well, see, what it is prophecy ain't never promised. See, what you got to do is you got to work with prophecy. See, you got to work with prophecy, because if you don't work with prophecy, what'll happen is prophecy will go on into the great white north. You know, there used to be a song in the 70s, I think it was, Take Off to the Great White North. I don't know how that song, I know how it goes, but it was a funny song. But it's Take Off to the Great White North. Your prophecy takes off to the great white north. Yeah, and it ain't the black South, it's the white North. Ain't that something? Take off to the great white North. That's what your prophecy does if you don't pray for it. Ooh. You see all that spooky stuff they be telling you, Donald? And it sounded, it sounded just like that when they were telling you it. You knew it. You knew something wasn't right there. You should have fired them right there on the spot. You're fired. You might have still been in, because now in your ear, sir, you're hearing you're fired. Isn't that something? The term you, I think, coined, you're fired. You're now having that played back to you, sir. Whatsoever a man soweth. Oh, shuck it up now. Look at that. There's a time and season for everything. There's a time to plant and there's a time to pluck up that which was planted. You were planted, sir, but it's now time for you to be plucked up. Yes, plucked up. And I know you being plucked up makes you feel up. I know you. Yeah. Yep. What is now being plucked up got you all up. I know it. I know how that goes. I know how that feels. Maybe not to your level. I wouldn't have wanted to be president no way, but it ain't never written for me to be president. I don't think you wanted to be president. You didn't think this hocus pocus was going to work, and it did. At least for the first 4 years it did. Yeah, you didn't know this was going to work. And then when it happened, you got scared. You're like, oh, what am I going to do now? I actually won. Oh, I actually won. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it took you about 4 years to even get a cabinet. Toe up cabinet. But you got a cabinet. You was running everything out of your kitchen cabinet. You didn't even have a cabinet. You didn't even have a plan. You were just all in the spookies. You had all of us scared. We just knew hell was coming any minute, because like you could hear the embers when it was coming close to you becoming president. You could hear the burning embers of hell just going off, and you're like, oh shoot. And then when you got it, and when you came on the scene, and then when you did that inauguration speech, it was like, oh shoot, this man done turned up the fire now. Woo! Get your AC, get your fan, get your ice. Woo! We in trouble. We in trouble. We in trouble. And it ain't never stopped. We still hearing the embers popping right now, because we don't know what's getting ready to pop off. Some of us don't know. Some of us do. I know our next level. I don't know how our next level will occur, but I know our next level. I know our next level. And we in trouble. And you know we in trouble too, Mr. Trump. You know it too. But it is what it is. Now, Mr. Trump, you might want to answer that phone. It might be Joe Biden. No, that's my phone there, y'all. My bad. I told Joe Biden. That's my phone there. My bad. Anyway, listen. We need to get some things right, y'all. We need to get some things right. Donald Trump, sir, you lost. Now you want to say how crooked everything was and how the votes were. I told you, sir, God said that you would no longer be president. 55 minutes in on tape 3 in relation to the president and the politicians of this divided, stolen states of America. 55 minutes in, I said Donald Trump will lose his position. Donald Trump will not be in office. Sir, I don't know why they didn't play that tape to you. It would have softened the blow. It would have. Now you're just mad. Well, I said what God said. I don't know why the church lied to you, sir. Sir, maybe the church was lied to. See, sir, there is a storyline in the Bible that speaks of God sending a seducing, lying spirit that they would believe the lie. Perhaps that's what they heard, because a lot of them heard it. I mean, Kenneth Copeland heard it. There were so many big time so-called prophets, David, Jeremiah, Kenneth Copeland. I can't even remember all the people now. They say Keith Clement. Now, when Clement was doing what he was doing in ministry, he's dead now. He died your first year, or you right at the point of you being elected or whatever. He died. Keith Clement died. But the way that he prophesied, he had all this rock and roll music that he just felt, and they would just play it. It was nothing rehearsed. He just, in the midst of all of that, if you could hold on for the next 45 minutes, he'll come and he'll stop the music and then say what he hear God saying. If you all would have, even if the church would have been, most of the church didn't even get with Keith Clement when he was coming on TBN. I saw him multiple times. Most of the church didn't get with him because they couldn't see that being God. But now the church wants to echo and herald what he said about you. And now they're followers. It's like the president giving someone who died 40 years ago posthumously a new promotion. Oh, now that's going to help my payout. That's going to really help me. Ain't nothing like a higher pay grade especially after I'm dead. Maybe you carry that pay grade, that military rank into the heavenlies of heavenlies, but that still sound kind of, so I don't know if I want to believe that either. See, the church be selling you some mess. Just like they sold you, Donald, they done sold us some. Donald, look, get on the bandwagon. Join the crowd. We all been sold some bullshit. It sold us all kind of wood nickels. They got us thinking there's a devil. They got us thinking there's a hell. Don't you hear what I hear? The church sold that to us, Donald. Man, Donald, they got us thinking all kind of crazy stuff. They look, Donald, they got us thinking that we were supposed to stay slaves. Slaves, obey your master and don't seek to be loose. If you are a slave, obey him. Sit there, obey your master. The church got us thinking all kind of crazy stuff, Donald. So don't feel totally bad like you the only one. You always like to be the only one of something. You're not the only one of this, sir. We got it on you now. See, you didn't even sit your rusty butt up in church long enough to be duped by the church like some of us have. See, this all new territory to you. So you feel like you the only prophet that has gone through. You feel like Elisha in some twisted form. I'm the only one who hadn't bowed to Baal. I'm the only one who the church is. Now, Donald, you ain't the only one. A lot of us got stuff on you. On you, not on you. Well, we got stuff on you too. But I'm saying a lot of us got stuff on what you ain't even ever gonna experience with all that money you got with all them other folks' money you borrowed that you got in your pockets. But what I will say is this, Donald Trump, I tried to say to you back the night of the impeachment findings, where they had to make a determination whether you were guilty or not guilty, and you were found to be basically not guilty. Lie. And you know it too. But anyway, that night, Donald, that night, it was made clear by me what your outcome was going to be, because I recorded a message, and those of you who would care, all you have to do is go on one of my podcasting host sites, and you will see, whether you go through iHeart, iTunes, Deezer, Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, however you go, look up Truth Must Prevail. Look at the day that I did it. It was Inauguration Day. Truth must prevail. And that's what I told my kids the night you were elected, Donald. I told my kids, no matter what you see, truth must and will and shall prevail over all of these lies that's coming forth. And it did. And it has. Truth must prevail. Donald, what you don't understand and what your children don't understand is that there is no way that the lie is going to trump out the truth. There is no way that unrighteousness is going to prevail over righteousness. And righteousness, or rather unrighteousness, is not what you or I deem it to be. It is not what the church deems it to be, sir. It's what God deems it to be. And as you see, sir, the church got it and you all wrong and all monked up. You know, I want to say something else. Got you all up. But anyway, the church got us all messed up, Donnie. Get over it. Pack your bags, though, but get over it. And go on to that great white north and live your life out. Donald Trump, I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to your politicians, because some of you politicians, you're still in position. But remember, God said to me that the Senate will be purged. What does that mean? I don't know. But God ain't finished. God says that the halls of Congress will have a new heart in the halls of Congress. What does that mean? I don't know, but I'm sure sitting on the edge of my seat waiting to see how that plays out too. That's why I called you politicians in on this as well, this post-election message. Donald, I know it's beneath you to concede to anything or anybody, even God. So I'm here to make it easy for you by me conceding for you, not conceding to you, because that's beneath me. Me conceding for you. I'm doing your conceding message that your pride and your dignity will never allow you to do, and that the church never taught you how to do, which is submit and humble yourself. Donald Trump, I told you God said that you're going to be humiliated. You, sir, are being totally and utterly humiliated. And church, you should be embarrassed, but I'll deal with you when I deal with that church message. You will be my post-election message to the church. Donald Trump, God said that he was going to humiliate you. Humiliateu. You would be humiliated. God didn't say that he would humiliate you, but God is the one orchestrating the humiliating. So it is God. The handprints, the fingerprints, the DNA is God. All right. The forensic scientists would discover, if they tested it, that the prints, the handprints of God are upon this humiliating situation that you're now in. You're at a point of utter and total humiliation. It should be very humiliating for you to see people standing outside that White House looking at you. Why did you have to build a wall so big, Donald? In fact, I thought the wall was like 1,500, 2,000 miles away. I thought that was supposed to be the Mexico wall, the Mexican wall. What you kept your promise, huh? You built the wall. You built the wall, impenetrable. Things shaky as my tree limbs out there. But anyway, you got your wall and you're still humiliated. You're humiliated because God says that Donald Trump will be confined to the White House. Look at your walls. You're confined just like God told me. You're confined by the people and by your pride and by the humiliation. It should be very humiliating to hear people saying to you now, "You're fired." How did you like that? How does that feel, sir? Isn't that something how you tore up Sleepy Joe's name? Sleepy Joe, and you had the world chanting Sleepy Joe. And it looks like the only person got time to sleep now is you. Isn't that something, sir? And don't none of you religious-minded nuts go talk about something. Well, the Bible says don't glory when you see someone fall. Shut up. Shut up. Get that spooky mess out of here. You had no problem, church, religious-minded fools, when Barack Obama got into office and you said and did what you did towards him. Shut up. That spooky mess don't work no more. The same hellhole you dig and preach is going to be the same hellhole you end up laying in. Because you got to be careful when you dig those ditches. You better dig them shallow enough that you yourself can get out of. Because if you dig them too deep, when you the one got to get down there, you in trouble. You in trouble. Watch how you dig it. You know Haman. You know. I'm not sure if that's his name. I can't remember now. But anyway, and how he built a gallows And the gallows he built ended up being the very gallows that took his life. Make sure you don't build it too strong, because you're going to have to wiggle your way out of it. Don't dig it too deep. Don't make hell too big, because then it might be room for you. Anyway, Donald, they done got me off my point. But Donald, the humiliation process, it should be tearing you up. But you sold it, sir. And they didn't tell you about that principle. It's apparent they didn't, because even they don't even live by that principle, because they're not even afraid of what's coming at them as well. The church. Because the judgment must first begin at the house. All right now. All right. And God, Donald Trump, well I'm going to say this here. Donald, don't worry. You're going to see the church come down too. Because God said to me, as goes Donald Trump, as goes the church. Well, Donald Trump, we know you've been put off the scene. Guess who else is getting ready to be put off the scene? You got it, sir. The church. Listen, I'll deal with the church in their message. This is to you. Donald Trump, I want to show you something that God said to me on October the 26th, 2020. I kind of got messed up because I kept hearing all of these renowned preachers and so-called prophets prophesying what was going to happen, and all of these black folks selling out to these white churches. And I don't got nothing against black and white, but I'm like, why? Listen, if you already in a multicultural church, good, that's fine. I love those type churches. You don't see too many here in the South, especially not here in the Carolinas. But anyway, you have black folk going to white establishments, and nothing wrong with that. I'm saying it for this reason. You have them going there and hoping to get a platform. They'll tell them what they want to hear. And then you have white folk going to black platforms and telling them in a way that it'll include them and make them feel good about what was supposedly getting ready to happen. Cha-ching, ching, chains. That ain't money this time. Them chains. Cha-ching, ching. Back in them cotton fields. That's what it was going to result to. And it just wasn't going to be black folk in them cotton fields. It was going to be everybody who wasn't like them. If you were a Muslim, cotton field. If you were a Buddhist, cotton field. If you were a Catholic, cotton field. If you were a Democrat, triple cotton field. Period. That's just how it was going to be. Listen, they'll do anything to save their guns. And then have enough money on the side to please their little Huns. But anyway, we'll get with that, with church, because we ain't dealing with no righteous people right now, dealing with you, president, and the politicians. So we ain't on the righteous side of things. We still on this twisted, icky side of things. October the 26th, I was messed up leading up to October 26th, because I'm like, God, I know what I heard you tell me. And God, I want to be right. And not that I want to be right because I want this to happen. I want to be right in the sense that I don't want to miss you. If I didn't hear you, I don't want to put it out there. But God, I know I heard you. I know you. But it's almost like John the Baptist. John the Baptist, he felt a certain way about Jesus. He said, behold the Lamb of God, which comes to take away the sins of the world. He saw Jesus and he automatically knew it was him. And then he said to Jesus, I need to be baptized by you, and you telling me to baptize you. So John knew who Jesus was. But then when they arrested John, and just before they were supposedly getting ready to behead him, supposedly, John sent somebody to Jesus and asked him, are you the one, or are we to look for another? In other words, John the Baptist was having second thoughts. He was questioning what he once knew. And Jesus said, go and tell John the Baptist, the blind see, the deaf hear, and the lame walk, and all this other stuff. What he was basically saying is, once you tell him this, he'll know that I am the one. And I guess they did it or whatever. The key there is, I was feeling like John the Baptist. God, is this you? Or is this? Because see, I want to trust that these other people are right. But I just knew they weren't. My spirit kept saying no. And I would just my mouth would just automatically open and say, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. No. And I didn't want to say it. It was just happening. So nothing in me was accepting that you would be another 4-year president, because God had already told me. And this is what God said to me on October the 26th that I did not include in my messages, because this was on October 26th that he told me this. I had already basically almost finished recording all of the recordings, if not all of the recordings by that time, by October the 26th. Yeah, I had already finished recording them, and I was just beginning to edit what I had recorded. But I mentioned in a couple of the messages that I have a 23rd message that God spoke to me. Well, this is that 23rd message regarding you, President Trump, and what was going to happen in the election. And I want to put this to you all. God said to me, what I told you October the 26th, 7 in the morning on a Monday. What I told you. What I spoke to you, I spoke to you. I told you what I told you. I spoke to you what I spoke to you. I told you not to get caught up with what others have been told. Notice God didn't say what others have been lied to by others. He said, I told you not to get caught up with what others have been told. I told you not to listen to others. He says, others have heard what others have heard, but you hear what you have heard. Their hearings are not your hearings. God was telling me something there, because what I believe God is saying there is, it wasn't that they didn't hear. They did hear. But what they heard is what's important and what sets the two of you apart. It's not necessarily who you heard from and who they heard from. The key is not in the fact that there were two different voices, two different channels of communication. It seems to me God is insinuating that, they heard, they truly heard. But what you heard and what they heard are two different things, because they were supposed to hear what they hear or what they heard, and you were supposed to hear what you hear or what you heard. You both were supposed to hear what you heard, but you cannot speak what they were supposed to hear, and they cannot speak what you were supposed to hear. Is God telling me they were supposed to hear the lie and that I was supposed to hear the truth? Interesting. Very interesting. Those of you talking and you just jealous and you don't look at him, he think, shut up. Let's keep reading. I told you not to listen to others. Others have heard what others have heard, but you hear what you have heard. Their hearings are not your hearings, and their words are not to be your words. And I'll read this to the church as well. Their leading is not to be your leading. He says, you have your own hearing. You have your own leading. You are to be led by me. You are to let me lead you. You are to let me speak to you. Do not get caught up on what others are saying. Do not be led by them. They are not to be your concern. They are not to concern you. Look through them. What I have spoken to you will be. Or should I say, he says, what I have spoken to be will be. What I have spoken to you will be. It will be just as I said it will be. So now God is saying to me, don't worry about what these folks are saying. You just keep saying what I told you. Just keep saying what you heard me tell you. He says, and then it'll be. And not because I'm speaking it, but because it's going to be. It's going to be just what I said to you. God says you will have a new president. This is October 26th. Okay, now remember, God began to speak to me about this starting in the month of March. He began to speak to me about the president being disgraced and the president being humiliated, and he was going to be taken off the scene, and he was going to be exposed, and all of these other things. But here I am now on October 26th, and he said he's just assuring me, you will have a new president. And people, we have that right now. He says the United States will see a new president, and people, we see that now. There will be a new president in this election, and we see that what God stated to me and what I say God stated to me has occurred. He says a new president will come forth in this election, and it has happened. This election will produce a new president. God was just reassuring me. He says Donald Trump will not continue. See, Mr. Trump, you weren't supposed to go any further. This is where you're supposed to get off. Donald Trump will not succeed. I don't know what the church heard, Donald. He will not see another term in office. There you go. And when he says he will not see another term, I don't know what this 2024 nonsense is about that little Donnie Jr. is talking about, and all y'all in the church, we'll just come back in 2024. And not through you, Mr. Trump, not in accordance with what God said to me here. He says he will not see another term in office. Does that mean he will not see another term in office due to the failure in this election? Or does it mean that he will never see another term in office? His term in office will be complete. That's what he said to me. His term in office will be complete. He says truth must prevail. That's what God told me. Those of you who need to go out there and listen to my messages on podcasts, the podcasting sites that hold my recordings, look up Truth Must Prevail and sit and listen to what I stated nearly a year ago. Truth must prevail. Truth must truly prevail. Truth has come to its point of unveiling. Truth has reached a point of being unveiled. This is the time for truth to be unveiled. People are hungry for change, God says. People are searching for change. People are ready for change. Change is what the people need. Change is what the people will get. God says integrity is still important. Justice is still important. The people are still important. This season is still important. He says that this season will establish principle. Well, Mr. Trump, there's no way that principle would have been established in this season, like God says, with you in office. Because you are not a person of principle. And those who are in your ears, they're not people of principle either. He says this season will set principle. This season will make principle important. Principle has never been important to you, Donald. It will make principle important to the people in the way that it should be. You would have never have established principle. He says this season is establishing the difference. This season is establishing the difference between what is right and what is wrong. Donald, this could have never happened without you, but it surely can't happen and couldn't happen if you stayed you. It couldn't have happened. You had to go. While we're talking, make sure that Mike and Barr and all these other ones, make sure they pack their bags. Kellyanne, she packed hers, I guess, a few months ago or whatever. But man, get little Kelly out of there too. Little Kelly, Haley, whatever, she get her out of there too. Tell her to pack her bags too. And put some new mics and mic pads in there, because we don't want all that spitter of lies that's on all those. Get all that out of there. This season, God said, is making right. This season is making what is wrong. This season is distinguishing between the right of the matter and the wrong of the matter. We couldn't distinguish it anymore, Donald. You were erasing generations of teachings. I had to wrestle with my children who were up under your guidance. 5 of my kids serving in the military. It wasn't to help you. It was to help themselves. That's what most of us joined for. All y'all little want to be patriots and talking about you did it for patriotism. You did it because you couldn't find a job and your mama told you to get out the house and you couldn't afford rent. Cut it out. We know why we go to the military. Very few of us go because we're trying to do the patriotic thing. Man, please. Now that was true in that 9/11 era, but come on, man, please. Anyway, this season is putting a distinguishing divide between right and wrong, between what is just and what is unjust. I had to fight and argue with my children, Mr. Trump, because you got my kids all messed up, Commander-in-Chief. Got them thinking that they can live any kind of way because my Commander-in-Chief is. How you going to live any kind of way, sir? And then you're going to teach the basic trainees about integrity and character. What the hell? What kind of hellfire is that? There it is. I hear them embers burning. Just talking about integrity. Just talking about character. How you going to be the commander-in-chief and doing stuff like that? Cut the hell out. Man, literally. I will make a distinguishment, God says. I will bring clarity to justice. Clarity injustice. See, there was no clarity. What is just if the police can shoot you in your back 7 times? What is just when you can't even march and protest? What is just when you give the police more firepower to do what they do? What is just when you bring a William Barr here into this system and help to tear up this system with his wretched, nasty, ugly, lying, attitudinal self? Well, I tell you. I will bring clarity and justice. You shoot a woman in her bed all of these times and you say, it looks justified to me. I will make justice clear in this season. How is justice clear in this season? When you have a man running from the police and they shoot him in his back and then go and kick him and then step over. Where is the justice? Where is the justice in a man who you didn't even arrest yet and you really didn't show any reason as to why you were arresting him fully, in my opinion, but my opinion don't count. And then you sit there with your knee on his neck until you choke him out. I don't see justice there. God has to make a distinguishment between what is just and what is unjust. It is unjust to send these children's parents back to a country that they escaped and leave the children here, lock them in cages like animals. And you feel that that's just. Shame on you, Mr. Trump. Shame on you, Mike Pence. You always want to talk about how you're a part of the church. You're right. And you both are expressing the very heart of the church, says God. That's what he told me. Let's see it continue to come true. I already see it, but may the people see it, because this is a season of utter exposure. You've been exposed. How is it just to now have children over here going through a pandemic without their mamas or their daddies? And then we'll probably find out that their mamas and daddies died from the pandemic. Now these children are out of cages, but they're still caged in their minds. They're still left uncovered without their parents. Their parents have died, gone on. And now these children are parentless. And you feel good about your wretched selves. You feel good about your ivory towers. Remember what I said, sir. The ivory towers of the rich will crumble because God said it. Remember that. And all of these innocent people, even your former lawyer, how Michael Cohen, how you had him rearrested, you in crooked, wicked bar. You and Kenneth Copeland, you should be ashamed of yourself, saying, our wonderful Attorney General William Barr. How do you call the unrighteous righteous? How do you call the unjust just? How do you make right wrong and wrong right? Shame on you, Kenneth Crooked Copeland. Shame on your wretched self. Go on to glory land. You need to go. You're going to go because you represent the old and God is into the new. You represent the old. You'll be going out of here. And Trump, just like your children, Kenneth, just like your children. Watch and see if it doesn't mimic the same. I deal with y'all church folk over there though. Donald, God says, I'll make justice clear in this season. Justice will not be the issue, but it would have been the issue if you stayed in office. He says justice will not be an issue, but it would have been had you have gotten another 4 years. But God says justice is not going to be an issue. He said justice is being established in this season. That's why you had to get off the scene. This is a season where justice will receive its just due, and you would have never have given justice its just due. You arrest your own lawyer who covered and helped your crooked self do the underhanded things that you were doing. And you had him arrested, but God brought justice on that scene. Remember, if you want to know how you're going to fare in this season of the pandemic, just ask yourself, well, what type season is it? I can tell you it's a season of harvest. I'm going to do some messages on that. I'm going to do a subtopic on that. The seed, the harvest. If you want to know how you're going to fare in this season, just ask yourself, what type season is it? Oh, it's a harvest season. Okay, so then what am I going to harvest? I don't know. Only you can answer that. The question is, what kind of seeds did you sow before this season? Because whatever kind of seeds you sowed before this season, that's the type harvest you're going to have in this season. Donald Trump, you sowed a lot of ugly seeds, and Michael Cohen had to do his time for them ugly seeds that he helped you sow. You've yet to pay for yours. Donald Trump, your day is coming. Remember the people you had arrested? Remember the people you had in cages? Sir, are you yourself getting ready to go behind the cages, the fences, the walls that you were erecting around this divided, stolen states of undeserved America? Whatsoever man sow it. Let's do the whole verse. Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. I'm just reading this out of my head, okay? I hadn't read that thing in years. Be not deceived, period. God is not mocked, period. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also REAP. reap, harvest now. So, listen, Donald Trump, it was clear to me that you were going to lose. I don't know why it wasn't clear to the church. They're supposed to be the seers of the world. We are the light of the world. Well, the Bible also says, if the blind lead the blind, they both going to end up in the ditch, and look like you and the church ended up in the ditch in this one, huh? Well, it shows you that they are not the seers. They are the blinded ones. They are the blind ones. Don't worry, Donald. We've all been duped by him. Just come on and get on the bandwagon. We've all been duped by him. But their day is coming. Their day is upon them as well, Donald. But this ain't their message. This is yours. Donald, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't feel sorry for you. No, I don't feel sorry for you. And am I praying for you? For what? What am I going to pray for? Number one, you didn't pray for any of them folks who was dying. You didn't pray for now one of them. You don't even know how to pray. You don't even know who you're praying to. I don't even believe you convinced there is someone greater than you. How the twisted church is being so stupid, I don't know. They just dumb. The church, y'all just dumb. Period. You just dumb. Now, all of you inside the church ain't dumb, but some of you are dumb because you're being willingly ignorant because the church is being exposed and you're still running after them. That's just dumb. You're just being dumb. The Bible says, for they being willingly ignorant. And guess what happens to ignorant? The Bible says, for my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, which is the actual definition of what ignorance is, the lack of knowledge. You are being destroyed trying to hold on to that entity called, don't worry, I got a bunch of family members still doing the same thing and will rebuke me and don't want me to come to no family. I don't want to come to your family reunions. In fact, y'all ain't never brought me nothing to the family reunion. I brought stuff to y'all. And I always left with less than I came with, and I always brought more than I ever needed to. But I did it because of the goodness of my heart. So I don't care about your little family reunions. I don't care about none of that. What I care about is truth being put forth. If I sell my soul to you, you're still going to have your noses looking down at a person like me. Because if you belong to the church entity, you just got issues from the root. That's just all how it is. And that's all how it will ever be. Family or not, in-laws or not, don't even care. Hate what you hate. I'm still going to do God. Still going to do him. Now, Mr. Trump, I don't feel sorry for you. You didn't feel sorry for none of these 230-something thousand people who are dead. You didn't feel anything for these 100-something thousand people every day being infected. You didn't do nothing for them. Now you're going to see right prevail. Now you're going to see how it was supposed to be done. Just unfortunately, we're behind that 8 ball, and where it's a sad situation now, and things are going to have to play out because God says they're going to have to play out. And we're going to see so many more deaths, so much more sickness. It's terrible, but you will answer to that, sir. You and your people will answer to that. You and your cronies will answer to that. We just got to get you off the scene. We got to get you from in front of the cameras. We got to sit you down somewhere. We got to build you an elderly home, let you sit there in your rocking chair and just muse over all the havoc that you were used to create. You may end up feeling like Judas, Donald. When Judas realized what he had done to Jesus, it says he went and hung himself. You may feel that way. You may even go that way. I don't know. God ain't told me nothing. But it is what it is, sir. That's why it's so necessary for each of us to watch the seeds that we sow. Because those will be the very bed of seeds that we'll reap from. And it is what it is. So hail to the no. I don't feel sorry for you. You or your children What you need to do is start figuring out with your crooked J. Sekulow illegal team how y'all gonna fight all of these charges that are pending against you now that you're no longer president. Sounds like to me you're gonna have to go get a mansion in Russia. Why? Because they gonna come after you here. You done some crooked, twisted mess. And now it's all going to come to the light. You and Donnie and Erica, or Eric, and the other ones, and your little Jared, the Jew-ish individual. All y'all, it ain't over, Donald. You're just moving off the scene, but it's not over. Because you really hadn't reaped necessarily anything yet. Now, if the church believes anything, you will have to reap what you sowed. Now, the church wants to cancel out any seeds, but the church ain't got no power to cancel out no seeds that you committed. See, that's what the church got us thinking, Donald. They got us all thinking that they control everything. We'll move God. And in the same breath, God is moving us. I'm sorry, moving y'all. You, Mike, Barr, all of them. Mitch McConnell, watch yourself, bruh. It ain't over. The last word has not been spoken. It won't work. And any of you Democrats on that side, if you're not walking right and you got crooked in you, you got crook in you, you too. Well, Donald, I'm finished. It was definitely not good knowing you. Not this close. But it's good that you came on the scene, because we all needed you. The world needed you. And you've been a great teacher. I know you're not finished, Donald. I know we're getting ready to go through some violent situations now, because that's part of the prophetic utterances that God gave me in relation to you. And he said that the world would revolt, and that the world will revolt. And just this morning, I looked to see what happened overnight, and I see where Bangkok is revolting now against its government. And see, the election, Donald, didn't just trigger something in the divided states. It triggered something throughout the world. And now that the wicked witch has been dethroned, metaphorically, I can't say the righteous king. That would be a lie. The wicked witch has been dethroned. Now the people feel bold. They don't have to, like in the Wizard of Oz, hide. The little munchkins hiding everywhere. But once they started saying, the wicked witch is dead, the wicked witch is dead, the wicked witch is dead, the wicked, she's dead, she's dead, he's dead, he's dead, the wicked witch is dethroned. Then they all started coming out. Now they're not afraid. Now they're being bold. Now they're really standing up, or coming forth to stand up. And it's like they're coming through their fear factors, and they're getting beyond their fear, and they're coming at you, and they're all looking at each other, and they're making a pact together, and they're saying, stand your ground. So now they're standing their grounds. They're coming strong, Donald. But I know your people aren't going to lay down. But the people aren't afraid anymore. And countries aren't afraid of their dictators anymore, because they see hope as well, because they look at what this divided states did with some united people within these states, how they came out and they protested against you, and they didn't allow your little police systems to scare them up. They didn't allow William Barr and his power with the government and these hidden military special forces people you had out there. That's why they didn't have law enforcement badges on, and they didn't have tags on their vehicles, and they didn't have names, and they were covered up. They were too in shape to be something from a force outside of the military. Their bodies were cut to right. They had special fighting skills. I saw that in each of them. They had great techniques. They had great takedown techniques. That doesn't come from a police force where they're sucking down pork and all of this other stuff and beer and going to the bar every night. They don't come out like that. They would have had beer bellies. They would have been out of shape. You know how they look. That wasn't how they looked. You had the military bled into all of this here. Listen. The people weren't afraid, and they stood their ground. Now the world has seen it, and now the world is going to revolt, because God said there will be a revolt as a result of the election. The election has taken place. The winner has been named. The world, even in Bangkok, Thailand, they're revolting against their government. In Russia, right now, today, on this 8th day of November, I hope I said November earlier. This is November the 8th. If I said October the 8th, I'm wrong. It's November the 8th. But anyway, 2020. Today, as of today, even the citizens of Russia, because Putin was riding off of what would happen in this election as well, because they just sent up last week a bill to make him an eternal president, a eternal ruler. That's what you wanted, Donald. It didn't work. And if it didn't work here, the people now know it doesn't have to work there. If they stood up and if they even risked their own lives, they can have the freedom that is due them as God's people. It's coming. It's on the horizon. Now, if you would just politely hurry up, pack your bags, and try to leave quietly, though I know you won't, because I know we're getting ready to go into a riotous situation. And we're going to see things, and I believe all of this will lead up to some type of war type situation, internal war type situation, a type situation where there will be a move for a revolution, which has already occurred or begun to occur. And it will be decided or concluded through some type of war, some type of civil type warlike situation. I don't know what defines what a civil war is, other than it's infighting between a people and their government, mainly, or the people against the people. We know that's coming. Too many guns have been purchased. Too many bullets have been purchased, and too much hatred still remains. Just because you are off the scene, sir, does not mean that it has completed itself, because it has not completed itself. You're just off the scene now, or soon to be. Now, I believe that you will do a lot of crooked stuff, and you will pardon a lot of crooked people, and you will sabotage some things and make it very hard for this transition to occur, and that we hadn't seen the last of you, and you are going to want to go out of here in a humongous, tremendous bang. I don't know how that's going to go. Am I concerned? I'm more concerned for the people who did not prepare. People, prepare yourselves. People, prepare yourselves. If your mama don't want to prepare herself, you do it. If your daddy don't want to prepare himself, you do it. If your siblings, if your children, you do it. If you want to fare well, you will do it. Remember to listen to my recordings, the things we must do in this pandemic season. I have one subtopic of a few recordings of the things we must do in order to fare through this season, because it's not just going to happen. There's some things that we need to be doing. And if you're to go into that next season, you will. And if you're not to go into the next season, you won't. Donald Trump, you won't be going into this next season. Not as a president, you won't. All right. I thank you all for listening. Donald, thank you for being president for the time that God chose you to. Mike Pence, thank you for being the vice president that you were apparently supposed to be. But it's time for you all to slither on out of here now. That's just what time it is. And can't none of us be hurt over it. We got to accept it for what it is. We got to accept it for what it is. Thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll continue on into the next one.